Gruesome Magazine.
Hello, once again, I'm Doc Rotten, and this is Gruesome Magazine, where we review the very latest in streaming and video on demand horror movies. Each week, my co-hosts Jeff Mohr, Crystal Cleveland, Dave Dreher, Christopher G. Mohr, and I will take a look at various spooky, scary, and gory genre offerings. Tonight, we are reviewing The Last Thing Mary Saw, streaming on Shudder beginning January 20th, 2022. Let me introduce the crew, starting off with Crystal Cleveland. What happened? What's going on, Crystal?
Yeah.
The living tech girl.
I can't tell if it's covered or if it looks like it's covered or it might have covered or...
It's their Bird Box cosplay.
Yes. The last thing I saw was the Gruesome Magazine logo.
Oh. All right. Also joining us is Word for the filmmaker, Christopher G. Mohr. How you doing, Christopher?
I'm doing good. Just peeking in the chicken coop to see the two ladies kissing.
Chicken coop.
What? You had to take it and explain the whole thing. I love it.
Yeah.
It's funny, actually.
If only there was a pre-show. If only there was a pre-show. All right. What we're going to do is we're going to dive into this film. We're going to give our first impression. That will be spoiler-free, and then we'll dive into discussion, and we will get into the spoilers and get into the meat of the story, and then we'll wrap things up with our final thoughts, our score, 1 to 5, and our favorite scene. And, of course, we thank you for joining us, not only for this review, but we hope you enjoy many others. And I took 2 sentences and shoved those together, and that's what happened. That's
it
just
worked.
Things. It worked, yeah. Of course.
It's like Reese's Peanut Butter Cups.
It is. Not as tasty, though. If you would like to help us out, please hit the subscribe button down below. Hit the like button. Sign me up for help. Of course, we want to hear your thoughts down below. It's going to be a rough ride, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get this train wreck going. All right, what is The Last Thing Mary Saw, 2021 on Shudder, streaming on Shudder beginning January 20th, 2022. Yes,
wow,
but the film is 2021, came out in Fantasia. Yes. But anyway, director, writer Edoardo Vitaletti.
Vitaletti? Yeah.
Vitaletti?
Yeah.
Okay. The cast includes Stephanie Scott, Isabelle, Fuhrman, Rory, Culkin, Judith Roberts, Carolyn McCormick, Shane Coffey, and the synopsis is Winter 1843. A young woman is under investigation following the mysterious death of her family's matriarch. Her recollection of events sheds new light on the ageless forces behind the tragedy. What is the last thing Mary saw? That's what we're here to discuss tonight. Let's find out what our first impressions are. And Christopher G. Mohr, you are elected first. What is your first impression?
Yeah, I appreciate what they're going for. It feels almost like a maybe a little bit of a folk horror story, a little bit of a fable. It has. This is probably not a good explanation, but it's almost like the Witch meets Brokeback Mountain or something. But it has different elements of those, but not as good as either of those. I found this film to be very boring, to be honest. I mean, I appreciate the period piece aspect of it, but the story structure, flashing back and forth, and I was just very confused by a lot of it. I didn't really understand parts of it. I mean, it was shot well. I'd say it's got some good performances. I was like, I've seen this one girl before. It's the little girl from Orphan.
I know.
Yes,
messed me up. Yeah.
Yep.
So then all I kept thinking is like that Orphan girl went back in time to 1843, which would have made it more interesting. But yeah, I don't know. It again. I appreciate what they were doing with it, but it didn't make a lot of sense, and I think because of that, I was not invested in it, and I didn't really understand the chemistry between the two women either. So, I mean, it feels like one of those things to where they felt like they were doing something bigger than what it is. Because we've seen the kind of these stories, where it's like, it's either just romances like West Side Story romances that aren't supposed to happen or whatever, but then you have the religious aspect of it, so then you either have like the homosexual or lesbian angle of it. But that didn't really give us much power because there wasn't really a lot of explanation as to why stuff was happening other than their little book thing. So yeah, I don't know. I was just very confused by a lot of it. It didn't make a lot of sense. And then there's like a monologue that happens 3/4 in that feels like a Tarantino monologue, and it doesn't make sense. So yeah, overall, I was just very confused and bored, and I kind of really wanted there to be more to it. And when there really wasn't, I was kind of disappointed by the end of it. Where, okay, so I don't know. It needed more teeth. I think. There needed to be much more. I mean, there was aspects of it kind of interesting, just the story aspect of it. But overall, I was kind of bored by it.
Kind of bored by it. Yeah, other actors you might recognize: Rory Culkin, of course, and then Judith Roberts was the lady in Dead Silence, the one with the.
Oh yeah, creepy. Yeah.
I was thinking the whole time. I was like, that lady looks like the lady.
Dead Silence. It's because she does.
I was wondering why. I was like, why is that? Where I've seen that like in a horror movie before, but that makes sense.
Yep, there you go.
She's creepy. She's like super creepy.
You did a good job too. Crystal, your first impression?
I pretty much agree with Christopher. I think this was beautifully shot. There were some shots I really, really liked. I liked the way it was color graded with like the muted tones. I didn't have a problem with anyone's performance. What I think they were trying to go for is they weren't necessarily going for a complete slow burn, because we see aspects of the supernatural. I don't know if I'm necessarily giving anything away. Early-ish on, but I have some ideas on how they could have made this better. I mean, it could have been something really, really cool, but it wasn't scary. But it had elements where it could have been used and explained better and done better, and like I could see it being a cool little folk tale thing there. The book was a cool idea. But he's right. It wasn't. It was explained well enough to get the gist of it, but it wasn't explained enough to make it compelling. Just the story wasn't that compelling. Yeah. So it could have been a little bit more than that. And I have to agree. I think that there were moments that were cute between the girls, but I don't know if they were. There's a lot that they didn't show you, that they didn't shoot. And I don't know if they were trying to leave something to the imagination, or they were trying not to show things that would be too rough but I think they needed, I can't believe I'm saying this, but they needed to show and tell more. When usually I would say the opposite, but we needed a little bit more. I needed some passion between the girls, and all I really saw was a friendship more than anything else, with maybe a couple cute moments, but
with some smooching on the side.
Yeah, it just didn't seem like a true like this love story where you're willing to risk everything. I mean, because at that time this would be crazy thinking what they're thinking about doing, And really, let's be real. I do know that they're being, disciplined for their whatever, but I'm like, if you've ever knelt on rice, yes, it's hard and it hurts, but I just didn't think it was like extreme. I mean, maybe that's because we've watched too many horror movies and we see extreme stuff, but I don't know. I think that they could have made the movie more emotional, and it would be more successful.
Yeah, I think that's my first impression as well. Is I don't think it had urgency, right? You didn't feel that even tearing their, if you tore their relationship apart, it wouldn't mean anything, right? You didn't feel that connection as strong as you needed to. You didn't feel the oppression as much as you needed to as well, right? Because it was implied, but I don't know if we ever really we didn't really see the impact it had on anybody outside of the people. They were just suddenly, we're going to put you into all this bad stuff, right? We didn't feel that they were disgusted by it, or we didn't feel the impact.
I mean,
right? It was just actions.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. You're supposed to be talking about your stuff, but yeah, I'm totally like you think that these people would be outraged, and they didn't even seem outraged. Well, we don't like what's happening.
Yeah, it was a little too subtle, subdued. So there was no highs, there was no lows, and that's what I think made it very complacent and boring. It was kind of hard to keep into it. I mean, if you're interested in period type of stories, I think this holds a lot for you. But if you were wanting something to really rile you up or get you, all emotionally involved, this one doesn't hit the mark. It kind of falls short. So to me, it was all about, I didn't grasp the urgency of the story. So I didn't care.
It's like the volume on everything was a 5,
Yes.
I mean, because it's like it's pretty. I mean, other than people spitting up black blood, it's pretty bloodless. It's pretty sexless.
There's a finger going on.
Oh, it's
there's
totally
a finger,
sexless.
but that's about. There's, I mean, even their makeout section, it's like shot like a 90s ABC movie. It's like they don't really show anything, and it's like, not that you have to, but to me, I didn't really see what their connection was. You know what I mean? And then you get to the scary stuff, and there's like a part where we're in Spoilerville, so
we're in spoilers.
There's a part where the woman's got her like levitating, and what is she doing? A magic act? I felt like David Copperfield was going to show up in a big poofy shirt or something, and it didn't, and there wasn't anything scary about it, and it's like, so it didn't have any of those elements that probably would have elevated it a whole lot more, to where it's like you have this woman who's like, and plus where you keep flashing back, and it's like, why don't we flash back when those two girls first met and we find that connection?
Yeah,
because we're just thrown into these two people already sort of being driven apart. You don't really see that connection, other than they're a little bit of emotion and stuff. So yeah, to me, it was kind of, I felt so disconnected from everything. I didn't really care. And then you have this guy that walked in from a Tarantino film with like a birthmark on his face, and he does this whole like, you want to tell me how I got these scars type moment, and it's like,
my mom.
What is this monologue about? It's like you have this character who's not been an integral part of the whole movie, and he just shows up and he tells this thing, and he does some horrible things. I mean, I don't know. The movie kind of like it felt just as lifeless as that old lady by the end of it. You know what I mean? To where, I mean, and it's got beautiful shots. I mean, there's some stuff with low light. There's a really cool shot where all the people have lanterns outside. Although I kind of found it funny when the detectives are like going in there and he's got his light on the end of his gun, and I felt like this would be an old timey version of a SWAT team when they have their flashlights on their gun. So I was laughing because I felt like somebody would probably do that in some big action film, trying to be like an old timey SWAT team.
That'd be awesome,
so yeah,
actually.
So it had all these elements that probably could have created something more scary, but it wasn't. I mean, the scariest part was just putting poison in somebody's tea, and
that didn't really, they didn't really shoot that well enough to make it, you didn't feel, like Hitchcock would put a gun underneath somebody's chair, and that gun was something's happening. You didn't have that oh my God, something's going to happen. You kind of just
that impending sense of
you didn't have that.
Well, that, and you think that she would have been more emotional when the wrong person got poisoned.
I know. Yeah.
And then she didn't even pay attention that the wrong person got poisoned, and she's, oh, this person's still alive. It's like, you just watched them.
I know, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense at all.
Yeah.
And I thought. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Crystal.
Oh no, that's okay. Okay. Honestly, I think that had they brought in the book and shown where the dad found the book and how he brought it in, and I feel like we needed to go through the book before we went through the story. or so we know what's coming, because like he was talking about Rory, right, Culkin's part or whatever.
The intruder, his character's name is.
We didn't know what to expect, but it didn't amount to much. It just seemed kind of lame. Like the book could have been so cool had they like really built it up into something more. And it's showing, here's what's weird about it is that they basically attributed these girls' relationship to the book. Like the book is what polluted them. And I would like to, if they had expanded on that and all of this supernatural side, I think it could have been really cool.
Yeah.
I think it could have been such an interesting thing, but
yeah, there were elements there to make it that way. Yeah, definitely. And I thought that they didn't really handle the exposition of the watch guy, the watchman that's out there, and what his story was really well. And we didn't get what happened to him, because they didn't really get into the exposition of that visually. We didn't understand the gravity of what they may face, right, when they have it, because it was obvious they weren't going to get whacked in the leg like he was, but there was more to it, right? They said there was more to it, and just the kneeling on the rice just wasn't it.
Well, yeah, and I didn't even understand why. I mean, is bread really worth getting yourself in trouble for? I mean, I felt like he went out of his way to do these things, and it's like, what is? I didn't understand his deal. Mm-mm. So there's just all these characters that don't really make a lot of sense. You have this family that are like mad about these two girls having this relationship, but then they're the most docile, menacing people ever. It's like, we're all going to sing and pray together and put your knees on rice, but then that's the level of it. And they're so it's like there's nothing menacing about that other than just this is very uncomfortable, So I kind of wish that they amped it up. I wish it'd been more like a little bit of the witch or any of these sort of like things where like burn the witch type deals and things, to where you feel more
danger.
Connected.
There was no danger.
You feel for the characters, but I was like, I didn't really understand it, and again, I didn't understand the motivations behind the characters, because I really didn't feel that we knew the characters that well, to where even that one character is like, I don't know. It's like, well, what is the reasoning? Let's get more information. I just didn't understand it. No, let's just read the book. I like the way you read it.
Yeah, and the whole silent dinner party was very awkward.
What was that? And then they all
because they were still supposed to be mourning for her. When someone dies, they have a whole day of silence, which is.
But then they all go for bread like it's a Black Friday deal. I mean, I guess it's part of the story they're mentioning, how they agreed or.
Yeah,
when they're all waiting there, they're all going. It's like what are there, Cabbage Patch dolls on this table? So,
but let's also, what the hell was the dad planning to do to the grandmother when her finger was moving? Was he going to kill her, even though she was? Did you see that? Like how he got like.
I think
that was super weird too.
I think for some, I mean, it didn't really explain.
He got a knife out, right?
Well, I thought he was going to cut her to see if she bled or something. I don't know. I wasn't exactly sure, but then it also feels like. Maybe he was going to cut her finger off like the guy got his finger cut off. But then there was no really explanation.
Well, her finger went black when that happened.
Yeah.
After his
was that?
Yeah. That was after his got cut off.
Yeah, her finger went black at the same time. Yeah. So I don't know it. And her spoilers, big spoilers. Her resurrection, the old lady's resurrection at the end, didn't
anticlimactic. It was obvious.
It was very, and it wasn't shot. Apologies to everybody, but it wasn't shot very well. There was like a little bit of shadow movement, but it didn't have any menace to it, right? Like you were saying, it was anticlimactic, so it didn't have any menace. It didn't have, and the score didn't help. This movie had good intentions, and left it there.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and wrap this one up, shall we? Let's give it our final thoughts, our score 1 to 5, and our favorite scene. Christopher G. Mohr, sir, you are up first.
With this film, I'm not sure what I saw. The character may, but not me. I think this film, the idea has potential, but I think the potential was not treated in the right way to where it would keep someone, or at least didn't keep me as connected to what was happening. I think you have a lot of these elements that can work well in films, whether it's people's love for each other that other people don't understand, religious issues, issues of the time period and that kind of stuff. That if you put the right story, it's going to keep you enthralled, keep you interested. But this film did not. I mean, there was parts that were shot well, and I think the actors did their best with the roles, but it was kind of bland. It's probably bland as that bread they ate on the table. And I think it just needed more. It's like getting plain rice and wishing it had a little bit of hot sauce in it to make it spicy and interesting. And there wasn't anything spicy. It's other than a few, like a finger chopping and some people spitting up motor oil. There's
motor oil.
There's no sex. There's really no major menace to it. There's just uncomfortable situations. I don't know. It's missing a lot of the pieces that would have made it a better film, which is kind of sad because there's potential for it. So, I will give it. I'll give it a 2.25.
No. Okay.
So I just found it to be a very bland, docile-driven story that really needed a lot more. It was like buying a sandwich and it missing all the meat, just being bread, which is appropriate for this film. Anyway, as for favorite scene, I will say the only scene that actually made me like, whoa, was involving a gun shot.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's the only film like, whoa, that was that. Well, I guess we had a little bit of blood there, but that I was kind of shocked by because it was very, you saw it. You saw it happen in front of you. I was like, oh, okay. That's when they were cooking with oil, but the rest of it, they're microwaving it. So, so that was probably my favorite scene involving a gun without being too spoilery.
Oh, all the food metaphors.
All the food. You know what I mean? My food analogies.
All right, Crystal, what are your final thoughts, your score, and your favorite scene?
So, I liked it more than Christopher because, I mean, I think it had some elements that were okay, and I was interested. It was boring at points, so yes, obviously, and it could have been better. But was this who? I don't know who made this movie. How many? I don't know what they've done before, but I think that they could improve, and I think they probably would learn from this. I don't know, but I am going to give it a 2.75 because 2.5 is average, and I think it's better, a little bit better than average, because we see so many bad films. But my favorite scene is the Lord's Prayer by rifle. That was interesting. And it was interesting. Her verbiage was interesting because she's like, in the earth. Huh? I was like, that's not how we said it, but it's cool.
Yeah, maybe it changed over time, right? I'll jump in here as well. There's, like you said, there's a lot of potential. I think the core of the story actually there's something there, right? I just don't think it was built up enough to make a good movie. It probably would read as a good book, but doesn't make a good movie. It was boring. I didn't want to use that word, but it just doesn't hold your interest. You just don't get into the characters enough, or into the, you don't feel, I've said that before, the urgency of it. You don't feel sucked into the story. It's kind of like, yeah, you're in trouble. Good luck. And I feel, I feel bad about that. But what did keep me interested was the performances. I think, the leads, 3 or 4 of them, were strong, and you're at least drawn into what's happening with them. I agree that the chemistry between the 2 girls wasn't incredibly strong, but I did feel enough strength that, I think somebody said like they were really good friends. It's probably a little bit more believable, right? But that wouldn't get them in trouble. So there you go. So to me, it's kind of a miss. And I think it needs more menace. It needs more urgency. It needs more ups and downs and highs and lows in it. It's, so, and you just kind of zone out. And so I'm only giving it a 2, and I feel bad about that because I thought we were going in thinking I was going to like it more than you guys. But it is on Shudder, and I think, if you do if you are a fan of the A24 stuff, and especially period pieces and mixed in with supernatural and horror, I think you'll enjoy this film. If you're looking for a horror film that happens to be set there, you're going to be less excited about this. So it's up to the audience to figure out.
Jeff would love this, probably. I think
Jeff Mohr probably did enjoy this. Yes. Dave probably didn't make it.
No, true. That's probably why he's not feeling well today.
Yeah. So I got he might have zoned him out. So my favorite scene is I thought the levitation scene was interesting, and it might be just because something was actually happening.
That's why.
That instead of,
I have to agree with Christopher with the whole David Copperfield thing.
I thought she was gonna pull a rabbit out of her belly or
excuse
something.
Me. A chicken. I knew they were.
Chicken. Yeah.
I mean, the only other time somebody felt like they were in trouble was when they were trying to poison the chickens. I mean, come on. All right, so there you go. That's our review for The Last Thing Mary Saw. It's playing on Shudder. Check it out and let us know what you think down below. If you want to tell us we're wrong and what we missed, please tell us. We probably
missed a lot on this one.
Yeah. And there could be local color in there that we're not getting to. Who knows? But yeah, Crystal, Christopher, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having
problem.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's get out of here. Let's say good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Gruesome Magazine.